Next Pats podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Pats podcast. I'm Phil Perry. Lots to get to in this week's episode. We've got my buddy Ted Johnson, co-host with myself of The Breakdown every single Monday after every single Patriots game. Like it or not, we're giving you your medicine every Monday night, 6 o'clock. We have a lot of fun on that show. Ted does such a great job breaking down the X's and the O's and the most important themes and plays of the game that we just watched and why the result was the way it was. Now, obviously, these last 2 weeks, it's been pretty apparent why the results were the way they were. When you look at New Orleans and you have to start with the turnovers, that's where the Patriots coaching staff starts. That's where the locker room starts. They all understand if they turn it over, especially as frequently and as egregiously as they have these last couple of weeks, they're going to have almost no chance to win football games. So Ted is going to break down this week on the podcast some bigger picture sorts of items, not the nitty gritty of every important play, but what does it mean for a locker room if there's no belief in the quarterback? How is Bill Belichick handling the last couple of weeks? And what is he going to do for this team to try to fix it moving forward? Let's start, though, before we get to Ted, with what I'm hearing after having a few conversations with people within the organization at a variety of different levels over the course of the last 48 hours or so. And what I can tell you first and foremost is they're not panicking yet. They haven't smashed that panic button the way maybe many of their fans have, the way many of those of us in the media who cover this team probably have with our coverage. It's not the same way inside the building. And I think that makes sense on a few different fronts. Number one, they understand there's a long football season ahead of them here. And if they were to start panicking now, what might that mean 2 or 3 weeks from now? If, for instance, they lose 2 of the next 3 games, where does that leave you then? So they're trying to stay in the moment. They're trying to stay positive. Some of the players, even, it's my understanding, have gone to the coaches and they've had real honest conversations. And there is some optimism involved there because they're seeing things on film. And Bill O'Brien actually alluded to this when he spoke to the media earlier this week. There are some hints on film that they're getting close. And Bill O'Brien acknowledged it's not there nearly enough. And they're a long way off from being where they want to be. But whether it's offensively, defensively, or special teams, they feel as though there have been a few different moments where, okay, if one block happens differently here, if we make that jam there, the little things that go into every single play, maybe they can change the outcomes of these games moving forward. So it's not a wake inside the walls of one Patriot place here. There is still some optimism, though I will say this. People will acknowledge to you if they lose this week in Vegas, even though it's on the road, this is viewed as a winnable game. And if they lose this one, then you might hear some panic buttons being smashed in Foxborough. Now, as it relates to the quarterback position, what I have sensed in a few different corners of the building is essentially resignation when it comes to that spot, meaning it almost doesn't matter to certain folks inside the building who's playing quarterback, which is, of course, never where you want to be as any NFL franchise, the most important position in the organization on the field. And you don't really even care who's manning that spot. That's sort of how the thinking has gone. Again, according to some of the conversations that I've had, it's shrug your shoulders and whoever's playing there, can you please just not turn it over? Can you just keep us out of these devastatingly bad spots that Mac Jones has put them in over the course of the last couple of weeks? So whether it's Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi or Will Grier, can you keep us out of those scenarios? That has been the low bar request that has essentially been made of Mac Jones moving forward here. As we know, Bill Belichick earlier today, we're taping this on Wednesday, Bill Belichick did go to the podium and say, yeah, we're not making any changes. Mac Jones will be the Patriots starting quarterback, but it's hard to find people who are providing full-throated support of their third-year signal caller based on the way these last 2 weeks have gone. The turnovers have been backbreaking. The poise has been non-existent at times. Yes, of course, he's been pressured in an extremely high rate over the course of the last month plus. But there are also plays where he's not pressured and he's playing as though he's been pressured. His footwork has been a mess, throwing off his back foot, throwing off his back hip, not getting everything that he needs to get into some of these passes, and the results have been disastrous. But when it comes to the leadership elements of the position, people with the Patriots are hoping to see more from Mac Jones on that front as well. And it's something that Mac Jones acknowledged in his Wednesday press conference. We just finished talking to him here at Gillette Stadium. And so let's play some of that sound, because at the podium today, he talked about trying to be a better communicator and understanding that that is one of his strengths. You know, when we've talked about Mac Jones, the communicator, we've talked about him at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap, being able to understand what's facing him across the line of scrimmage and understanding what defenses are trying to present to him and maybe getting into the right kind of play before the ball is even put into play. And that's one of the reasons you make him a first round pick, is because he does have the ability to do those things. But he was talking more about, it seemed like, communication away from Sundays, away from the white lines, in the locker room, maybe in the meeting rooms, maybe it's on the practice field as well, but making it clear what this offense needs to do in order to improve. Here's what Mac Jones had to say when it was brought up to him that, hey, man, you're a pretty good communicator. Let's lean into that.
Really just thinking about a lot of things and talking with, the guys in the locker room, or guys like Hunter or whoever, guys who have played a lot of football in this league. And, one of the best things that I do is my ability to communicate. So somebody told me that in the locker room, and I really took that to heart. So that's really good information for me. And, that's who I am. So I need to do a better job of that, and I haven't done that here the past couple of years.
Now, I think in some sense, the fact that there was a teammate who clearly Mac Jones respects enough to heed their advice, that there was a teammate who was willing to come up to Mac Jones and make that kind of statement known to him, I think is a good sign. I think there are players in the building who understand, listen, this guy is our only hope at this position. And we're going to talk about this with Ted Johnson, but everyone knows they released Bailey Zappi about a month ago. Everyone knows Will Greer's only been in the building for a couple of weeks. What else are you going to do at quarterback? And I think if there was another viable option, you might be seeing that person this week in Vegas, but there isn't. And so you won't. And so there are leaders in that locker room who will go to him and make it clear that there are certain things he needs to do to be able to have a little bit more success. And I think one of the players who has had Mac Jones's back in a way that maybe others haven't, and has clearly been one of Mac Jones's go-to guys in the red zone, but even out on the practice fields during training camp, you see these two guys interacting a great deal. And Hunter Henry has been a shoulder for Mac Jones to lean on. He has been the guy. I thought it was interesting what he told me when I asked him during his press conference on Wednesday, why is Mac Jones the right quarterback to lead this offense right now? Here's Hunter Henry.
Well, he's been through a lot of adversity in his own way. And, man, I think the proof's in the work, man. And that guy goes to work every single day, no matter the circumstances, no matter what it is going on around him. We've put a lot of work in together, and we've got to rely on a lot of that work, that just dates back to the spring, to the summer, to the times that, no one was around too, and just rely on that. And so I think the daily coming in and putting everything behind him and still going to work, I think that shows a lot about him.
Okay, it's one thing to put in the work. It's another to put that work into practice on Sundays. We'll see if Mac Jones is able to do that in Vegas, because he does have another opportunity here to re-earn his job. You wonder how long Bill Belichick will let this go on, and if there's a certain amount of time that Bill Belichick wants to elapse before maybe even going not to Bailey Zappi, but going to Will Greer. Maybe give him enough time to feel as though he's comfortable enough to run enough in the way of the Patriots offense to get on the field and maybe just not make the same mistakes that have been made over the course of the last few weeks. And maybe, just maybe, Bill Belichick feels that would give the Patriots a better option. Clearly, he's not at that point just yet. Okay, before we bring in Ted, I do want to give you, because I've done some digging, I want to give you a 5-point plan as to how the Patriots might be able to salvage what seems unsalvageable right now with their offense. And essentially, I think you could best sum up this plan as muck it up. Muck it up. Make it ugly. Point number 1 of the 5-point plan. Run it inside. Get away from this wide zone stuff that they tried last week. Did not go well. Get away from these edge runs, these stretch runs. Everybody's running, hauling ass to the boundary. It ain't working. Now listen, not much is working. I'll give you some of the numbers in terms of just the overall offensive performance. But as things stand right now, you could make the argument that they are best off running the ball inside. Here's some big picture numbers for you. First of all, through 5 weeks, the Patriots are 32nd in points per game. They're 26th in yards per game. They're 29th in terms of their yards per pass attempt. They're 29th in terms of their yards per rushing attempt. They're last in the league in EPA per play. They're 30th in success rate. They are last in the league in EPA per dropback and EPA per rush. They're 30th in dropback success rate, and they're 29th in running success rate. Absolutely brutal, abhorrent, bad ball, you might call it. But when they run it inside, especially over the course of the last 3 weeks, it hasn't been a disaster. Okay? And again, we're talking very low bar here, but it's hard to find areas with this offense where it's not a disaster right now. Running it between the tackles since week 3, the Patriots are actually 16th in the league, right in the middle of the pack in terms of positive play percentage when it comes to expected points added. So, okay, this is from Sports Info Solutions. This is a little bit of an advanced analytic. Right in the middle of the pack in the league when it comes to positive play percentage when they run either inside zone or duo. So they hand it off. Ezekiel Elliott, Ramondre Stevenson, really doesn't matter in my opinion, but you hand it off between the tackles. You let those guards, those tackles, David Andrews at center, go to work. You work some double teams if they are there to be had. You try to work up to the second level linebackers and you clear some room there. They're basically a middle of the pack running team when they run those kinds of plays over the course of the last 3 weeks. You'll take middle of the pack. So run it inside. That's point number 1. Point number 2, get under center. It might not be what Mac Jones loves. It might not be what he did the most at Alabama. It might not allow for some of those RPO types of plays that we talked about all training camp long that Mac Jones is pretty comfortable with. It might even get away from empty a little bit. And we'll talk a little bit more about empty because they have been awful when they've used empty. But get under center because under center this season, they're 18th in success rate. They've got a 41.4 success rate when they run their plays under center. Is that great? No, of course not. But 18th is better than 32nd. It's better than 30th. Again, you're basically a middle of the pack offense relative to other offenses across the NFL when you get under center. You'll take middle of the pack. But, and this gets us to point number 3, if you are going to get under center, mix it up a little bit, will you? When they're under center right now, on first down, they run 72% of the time. Now, maybe they're looking at some of the same numbers I am. And they're saying, well, Phil, you just said run it inside, get under center. So we've been under center and we've run it. 72% on first down is about as predictable as it gets. Now, you're not amazing EPA-wise when you're under center, okay? 18th in success rate, sure, it's not bad. But in terms of EPA, you're actually 23rd in EPA per pass under center, and you're 30th in EPA per run. But maybe there's the potential for growth there if you have a little bit less predictability when you're under center. So throw it from under center, use some play action. We'll get to play action a little bit, mix it up. Do things that are a little bit off schedule. Get under center on first down and chuck the thing. See how it goes. Under center, you're better though. You're better when you run it inside. If you can mix it up while you're under center, you might see even more improvements over the improvements we're talking about right now. Point number 4 of the muck it up plan. Go with your heavy personnel. Patriots against base defense this year, so 4 defensive backs on the field. They're 9th best in the league in those situations in terms of EPA per play. They're actually the 5th best EPA per pass team against base defense. Can you believe that? 5th best in the league at anything, especially putting the ball in the air? Well, yeah, when you get the opposition to put 4 defensive backs on the field, they're pretty damn good. They're 12th in success rate, 44%, not bad. But how do you do that, right? How do you get that base personnel on the field? You got to get your tight ends out there. You got to get maybe 2 backs on the field. Whatever you can do to go heavy, to encourage the opposition to say, well, if we don't get extra linebackers on the field, if we don't get some bigger bodies on the field ourselves, they're going to be able to run right over us. That's what you want to do if you're Bill O'Brien in this Patriots offense right now, in my opinion, because you're so much better against base than you are against sub packages defensively. Nickel, 5 defensive backs, dime, 6 defensive backs. They're actually 31st and 28th, respectively, in terms of EPA per play. So get your heavy personnel on the field, get the defense's heavy personnel on the field, and go to work. Patriots are over 40% in terms of their success rate with 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, or 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. They're over 40% success rate with 21 personnel on the field. So when you compare that to what the Patriots are doing with their 3 receiver sets, which is their, and the entire league's number 1 personnel grouping right now in terms of how frequently they're using it, it's significantly better when they go heavy. They're only 34% success with 11 personnel on the field. Again, they're 40 with 21 on the field. They're better than that with 12 and 13 personnel on the field with those multiple tight end looks that they like to roll out there. Get bigger bodies on the field, get the defense to put bigger bodies on the field, and you'll be better off. 5th and final point of the muck it up plan. This is the portion of the plan where we actually decide not to muck it up. And that sounds maybe a little bit counterintuitive, but we can't get through an entire 5-point plan and not talk about the passing game once. We've talked about running it inside, going under center, mixing it up there, getting your heavy personnel on the field. I mean, it sounds like 1993 right now. They are still going to have to throw the football occasionally. And when they do, this is point number 5, throw to the middle of the field. Patriots, when it comes to passing between the numbers, middle of the field, and in the intermediate range, that's defined as passes that travel between 10 and 19 yards down the field. So you haven't crossed into your quote unquote deep passing territory when we're talking about these intermediate passes, but we're also not talking about the short throws, and we're not talking about the behind the line of scrimmage throws either, the myriad screens that we've seen over the course of the 2023 season. That's not what we're talking about. Where they've been best when they've thrown the football has been the middle of the field, 10 to 19 yards down the field. Their EPA per play on those types of passes is almost a point per play. That's excellent. They're at 0.78 EPA per play when they throw 10 to 19 yards down the field and between the numbers. That's 11th best in the league. 11th best. Again, we're just looking for any part of their offense that isn't in the basement. 11th, throwing the ball, not deep down the field, but down the field a bit. That's surprising to me. Lean into that. Do more of that. Mac Jones has actually been pretty effective at the intermediate level when looking to his left as well. So not necessarily the middle of the field between the numbers, but outside the numbers to the left. Much smaller sample, only 9 attempts, but he's been fine there too. Over half a point in terms of EPA per play when he throws down the field a little bit and to his left. 83.1 Pro Football Focus grade, 12.6 yards per attempt when throwing in that direction. Almost a perfect quarterback rating, believe it or not. Again, small sample, only 9 attempts, but 155.8 rating between 10 and 19 yards down the field, outside the numbers to the left. Middle of the field, very good as well. 100.1 rating in the middle of the field, 10 to 19 yards down the field, 11.8 yards per attempt, 81.3 Pro Football Focus grade. That's excellent. His completion percentage over expected. So this is essentially an accuracy stat, but it factors in down, distance, the likelihood of you being able to complete these kinds of passes is 11% completion percentage over expected. That's 7th best in the league in terms of that specific portion of the field. His success rate in that specific portion of the field, middle of the field, 10 to 19 yards down the field, is 7th best in the league. Again, we're only 5 games into the season. and it's a relatively small sample. But this is an area of the field where the Patriots clearly have shown they can be proficient. And yet, those throws represent only 9.1% of their plays. You're talking about 20 or so plays. So could all of these numbers that I'm discussing right now absolutely crater over the course of a week or two? Sure, they could. But you're looking for any sort of hope right now. And if you can attack the middle of the field, down the field, you can have some success. They've shown that. What I would suggest, if you're combining everything from our 5-point plan together now, you can run it inside from under center. Get into your heavy personnel packages. Try to encourage opposing defenses to put base defense on the field. Run the football between the tackles. Duo, inside zone, downhill stuff. Forget the edge runs. And then occasionally attack the middle of the field, down the field, through the air by using play action. With play action this year, the Patriots haven't been able to do a whole lot of it because their run game hasn't been successful. So why are defenses going to bite on the idea of the run when you're showing them that fake? Why would they bite on the idea of the run when you're down 16-0, 17-3, 28-3, 34-0? Play action goes out the window when you're in those situations. But with play action this year, Mac Jones is 7.6 yards per attempt, almost 70% completions, almost 100 rating, 99.6 quarterback rating. Not bad. Not bad at all. So if you can muck it up enough to force defenses to respect your ability to move them off the line of scrimmage and move the football on the ground, maybe you can pull a fake out of the running back's belly, wrap a pass around a linebacker's head, around a safety's head, throw it over their heads after they've bitten on that fake, and you can find some explosive plays. You can put some points on the board. Finally, I mentioned empty a little bit earlier. I want to make good on that. They haven't been horrible out of empty, believe it or not. Now, this is a very different style of offense than what my muck it up plan would suggest, but their success rate's almost 50% out of empty this year. 47.8 success rate. Not bad. Not bad at all. So on the occasion, and this will certainly come up, maybe not this week against the Raiders, although I'm not ruling it out. I would say it's certainly going to come up against Buffalo, certainly going to come up against Miami. When you are down and the muck it up plan goes out the window because you're down 2 or 3 scores, maybe they should roll even more with empty than they have, because that has been their best sort of formation when it comes to their success rate, just in terms of some of the percentages and some of the numbers that we have through 5 weeks. So muck it up. If you find yourselves down, go empty. Hope it works. That's really, in my opinion, all you have right now. I think they're going to cut down on the volume. They're going to try to streamline things. They're going to pick a few plays. Maybe it's duo. They call it their gap play. Inside zone, very similar. Get some double teams going. Get up to the linebacker level. Try to create some room for your big old running backs and hope that they can break a tackle and maybe create an explosive play on the ground. Maybe that sets up an explosive play through the air via play action. And based on the results that they've had so far, that kind of thing's going to occur somewhere in the middle of the field. That's where your quarterback works best. Let him work it and work it and work it, because the stuff outside the numbers, really run and pass, just hasn't been working as well. All right, now that we fixed the Patriots offense, let's go ahead and bring in our guy, Ted Johnson. All right, there he is. There's the man, Ted Johnson. Ted, thanks so much for being with us on Next Pats, buddy.
Of course, Bill. Good to be with you, bud.
So we just got finished speaking with Bill Belichick, his typical Wednesday press conference where he gives a very long spiel on the roster that his team is about to play, but nobody really was asking about the Raiders today. Aside from a few questions about Jacoby Myers, everybody was asking about the quarterback, Ted, and Bill made it very clear, we're not making any changes. Mac Jones is going to be the starter. So I put it to you, is that the right call?
That's a difficult question, and I wish I had an easy answer for you. But I will say this: at this point, probably got to love the one you're with and ride this thing out. I think maybe switching to, Bailey Zappi at this point, or either Will Greer. I don't know if that's the best decision. I just don't think you can kind of go back and forth. And so, got to love the one you're with. Try and work your way through it. Hopefully, you get obviously better results. I don't know if he had a talking to or if he's starting, but there's maybe certain constraints or restrictions that are being put on him that he's got to try and play within those restrictions. And so I think you got to give him another chance, Phil. I really do. And so because I think if you don't, then you've lost the kid for the rest of the year. So my guess is at the end of the day, this is probably the best decision they could go with.
Hey, can you take us into the players' shoes on this? You said, listen, if you make a move now, maybe you can't go back to him or you might lose him. Why is that? Why do you feel that way? And is that how the players would be looking at it here at Gillette?
Well, I think it's kind of like what happened with, to some degree, from a psychological standpoint with Bailey Zappi. Think of it in terms like when Bailey Zappi was put on waivers, it kind of signaled to all of us that they don't have belief in him. And so when Bailey Zappi comes back into a game in relief of Mac Jones, is anybody sitting there watching the game going, this is a viable, kind of alternative to Mac Jones is Bailey Zappi? No, they've already given up on him once, and really they have no other options, so they're putting him in there. And so there's a lot of belief that gets lost whenever you bench him or you expose like a Bailey Zappi to waivers. And I think the same kind of dynamic that was at play with Bailey Zappi is kind of at play here with Mac Jones, where, all right, you can take him out, but you're going to put him back in. You're not going to have really, I think, the buy-in or anybody's going to really feel as if that's the right decision, if that makes sense, Phil. It's from a psychological standpoint, I just think players would not feel like Mac Jones has much to give if you keep bringing him in and out. And so I just think from a psychological standpoint, that's why that's the case. If you take him out again, I think players won't take it serious if you eventually feel like you need to put him back in.
It makes a lot of sense. Once the head coach has given up on you to a degree, even if it's just for a short stint, like our buddy Tom Curran has been saying, listen, Mac just clearly needs to sit down. Like pressure is getting to him. Even when he's not pressured, it looks like he's being pressured because of the way he's just reacting to defenders, moving across the line of scrimmage. And so maybe he just needs a break. But what you're saying is once you give up on him in that way, then as Bill Belichick, then the locker room gives up on him in a way as well. So what you're saying too is, Bailey Zappi, I think a lot of people would say, yeah, just get him in there just to make a change. But Bill Belichick almost removed that option from the table for himself when he released Zappi about a month ago, because what you're saying is players would look at that and say, Bill, you didn't believe in this guy. You cut him. And right. Now you're expecting us to play for him. Is that how a player would react to that?
Exactly. That's exactly. You encapsulated what I was trying to say, I think, perfectly. And that's really what it amounts to. And I, besides, I think just having that kind of psychological impact on the players by doing that with Mac, I just think, Mac would have a difficult time coming back from it. And so if you keep bringing him in and out, I just think there's a psychological damage that happens and occurs there that is maybe too hard to come back from. I mean, Bailey Zappi, in relief of Mac Jones in these two games, have you seen him come in and light the world on fire? No. And so my guess is his confidence is a little bit shot from what happened in the summer as well, Phil.
Ted, this might sound like a stupid question, but I think it is important to get your perspective on it. Obviously, the quarterback position, it's the most important position on the field. But why does it matter that the rest of the team is bought in on a guy? Why does it matter? Probably even to Bill Belichick, as he's sitting there looking at Bailey Zappi saying to himself, I can't in good conscience start this guy because everybody knows I didn't believe in him 3 weeks ago. How am I supposed to believe in him now? Why is that belief in that particular position, whoever's starting there, why is that so important to the 52 other guys in the locker room?
Yeah, Phil, because that 53rd guy, the quarterback, he's responsible so much for the final outcome in the game. I mean, the quarterback is so responsible, even if you're asking him to not screw it up, even if you're playing, calling plays that are conservative, where the quarterback, you're essentially maybe taking, a lot power away from the quarterback so that he doesn't screw it up. Even that, it's still an important job. And so everybody knows that the most important job of any position on any Sunday is the quarterback position. They have so much power to either help you win the game or they can lose it. And so that's why so much stock is put into how that position is handled, how they relate to that position. And so it impacts the entire team. And I've always said this, just a quarterback play can inspire a defense to go out there and play hard. And it can also, the quarterback play can inspire the defense to go out there and not play as hard and not be as focused, maybe perhaps if he's playing bad. And so the quarterback play in general dictates a lot of how the entire team feels about itself and how it feels going into a football game every week.
Would you be playing for Mac Jones as not as hard, maybe playing hard isn't the right way to describe it, but would you have belief if you were a defensive player on this team right now? Would you have belief in Mac Jones, Ted?
Right now, it would be very difficult. It would be very difficult to have belief. He would have to do something, particularly early in games, to instill, I think, some collective confidence on that side of the ball. And there's been talk this week about the defense, maybe having issues with Mac in practice, that they're kind of flexing their muscle at him, saying, dude, you can't be making these mistakes in practice like you're making in the game. And that's a dynamic that is very much real. And so players, if you feel like, and I always said this, people would argue, like, how does Tom Brady make your defense better? And I'd say, because we knew he had a chance to go out there and score, even if he threw a couple interceptions, we knew he had to put a stake through his heart to kill him. You weren't going to kill him. And so you'd still go out there and fight. You'd still go out there and do whatever you could because you wanted to give your offense another chance, because the quarterback is going to, do everything he can to deliver. And so they need to feel that for Mac, and support is waning. Clearly, you can just tell in some of the comments about Mac. So Mac's really got to go out there and win his teammates over in practice. And he's got to go win his teammates over early in this game in Las Vegas, Phil, so that they all feel good about the direction of where they're going and when the game starts. If they go out there and he has a bad mistake early, then that permeates throughout the entire team and just puts a dark cloud over the rest of the effort for that day.
You ever been in a locker room, Ted, where one side of the ball is clearly carrying its weight and the other is not? And if you have, how harmful to the overall operation can that be? Because we've heard from Steve Belichick, Gerard Mayo, Brian Belichick earlier this week. They all acknowledged that it can be natural for players on one side of the ball, if they're playing well, to kind of just start to, maybe if not overtly, but start to maybe even mentally point fingers. And I can't imagine that that's helpful in any way, shape, or form. But have you ever experienced anything like that? You think that's happening here now?
Sure. I mean, I had it a time. I remember Rack, specifically saying to us, my former defensive coordinator, look, guys, we can't worry about what's going on that side. Don't be making comments. I mean, I've had coaches, consciously bring it up and address it in a defensive meeting. You don't make a big deal out of it. You don't hammer it, but you, as a coach, that's really on the coaching staff and the leaders on the defense to, hey, let's not start making this an us versus them thing, but then you're really screwed. And so the coaches got to be aware of it. They got to address it. Don't ignore it. You address it with the defense and you say, look, it's a team game. We're all in this. It's one die, all die. All those cliches, bring them out, use them. So that because you don't want to make what's a bad situation worse by now all of a sudden kind of making it a defense versus offense thing. And that's really on the coaches to be mindful of that and address it with the team and the leaders on the defense.
How do you think Bill Belichick's handling all this, Ted? This is the last thing I asked, but I mean, you obviously played for him for a long time. Listen, there are a lot of times we talk to him during the week. He seems tired because I'm sure there's a lot of work going into everything that they're doing right now. They're looking at the Raiders, but they're also looking at themselves. They're looking in the mirror. They're trying to figure things out here. But I'm not sure there are many answers for him at this point in terms of how to fix this immediately. So how do you think Bill is handling this with his team?
I think Bill's having a really difficult time trying to find a way to motivate. And I've always said, the good coaches, the best well-rounded coaches, Phil, are coaches that aren't only the smartest guys in the room from a schematic standpoint, game planning, scouting, in-game management standpoint, but also really good motivators. You got to be able to motivate and push buttons and get guys to, play above themselves if you can. And so that's where it's really more Bill needs to focus on the motivating part and getting guys to buy in. And right now, he doesn't look like that's a big emphasis on for him to be right now. And that's a little bit surprising. Maybe he doesn't feel that the any motivational thing he does, which he's done in the past with us. He really has, burying the football after an 0-2 start in 2001, using the race, horse racing examples, Secretariat versus War Admiral as a way to kind of describe how you finish a game. He's good at motivating guys when he wants to be. He has to reach in deep and find a way to motivate this football team and give them confidence. Bill's words are powerful, Phil. And his words of affirmation, when he says something nice and he puts his arm around and he shows some vulnerability to a player, to a team, to a unit, it has a huge, huge effect in a positive direction. And so I think it comes down to Bill deciding he wants to do that and affirm his guys and kind of say that we're all in this together. Don't isolate. Don't say it's, you're the reason. It's not my fault, that kind of thing. And I think you'll get guys back on board pulling in the same direction. But right now it feels a little bit like it might be player v coaches. And now you have the issues that you have, but it really comes down to, I think, Bill just deciding that he wants to be vulnerable and basically love up his players, which right now he probably is looking around going, yeah, these guys aren't doing what I'm asking to do. It's counterintuitive for him, and it just doesn't feel natural. But he's got to do the unnatural thing, I think, and go with that approach to get guys back engaged mentally and emotionally. Because right now it seems like a lot of guys are kind of checked out, Phil.
Not where you want to be. 5 weeks into the season, no question. Ted Johnson, You're the best. Thanks so much for being with us, buddy. We'll see if they can bounce back in Vegas.
You got it, Phil. Thanks, pal.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/NBCSB and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. MA 21 plus and present in MA. Hope is here. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. Great stuff, as always, from Ted Johnson there. Unbelievable perspective for us to have as somebody who's been in that locker room, somebody who's played for Bill Belichick, who's seen Bill Belichick go through hard times, although not quite as hard as these, and somebody who understands the dynamics of offense versus defense and defense versus offense and who's pulling their weight and how those dynamics can really impact a team. Never mind how it can impact a team if there's quarterback play, like the quarterback play the Patriots have experienced these last few weeks here, and what the belief in that position can do to the rest of the locker room. Awesome, awesome stuff there from Ted. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate you as well. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of the Next Pats podcast. Keep an eye out for next week's Next Pats podcast. We'll be talking about panic buttons being smashed in Foxborough, or will we be maybe talking about a 2-win team that's got a division game, a big division game against the Buffalo Bills. Either way, keep it locked with us. Looking forward to talking to you next week.